My name is Daniel, and I have a unique problem. I can understand English perfectly, but I cannot speak it. When I watch movies or listen to music in English, I understand every word. My friends always tell me, "Wow, your English is great." But when they ask me to say something, I freeze. My brain understands the words, but my mouth refuses to cooperate. It feels like there is a wall blocking my thoughts from becoming speech. I remember the first time I realized this problem. I was in school, and my teacher asked me to read a simple sentence. My classmates looked at me, waiting for me to start. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Everyone laughed, and I felt embarrassed. From that day, I decided to avoid speaking English whenever possible. It made me feel like I was not good enough. I started focusing only on reading and listening. Books, podcasts, and videos became my best friends. I could learn new words, phrases, and even grammar rules. But I avoided situations where I needed to speak. My family encouraged me to practice, but I always found an excuse. I told myself, I'll practice tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. One day, my friend Alex invited me to an English-speaking club. He said, "It will help you overcome your fear." At first, I said no. I was too scared to speak in front of strangers. But Alex didn't give up. He said, "You don't have to speak. Just listen and see how you feel." Finally, I agreed to go, hoping it would not be too embarrassing. When I entered the club, I felt nervous. Everyone was speaking English so easily. They laughed, shared stories, and even argued in English. I sat quietly in a corner, listening to everything. To my surprise, I understood almost everything they said. It made me realize that my problem was not with understanding English, but with speaking it. Chapter 2: The Fear. After my first visit to the English-speaking club, I felt both inspired and scared. Inspired because I realized I could understand native speakers. Scared because I saw how much I needed to improve my speaking skills. Alex noticed my hesitation and asked, "Why don't you try saying just one sentence next time?" The idea terrified me. What if I made a mistake? What if people laughed at me? That week, I practiced a single sentence every day. I stood in front of the mirror and said, "Hello, my name is Daniel. Nice to meet you." It felt silly, but I hoped it would help. The next club meeting came, and Alex introduced me to a friendly group. They asked me, "What is your name?" My heart raced. I tried to say the sentence I practiced, but only a whisper came out. They smiled kindly and waited for me to try again. Finally, I said, "My name is Daniel." It was not perfect, but it was a start. Everyone clapped and encouraged me. Their support gave me a little confidence. I realized that most people are kind and understanding. They don't care if you make mistakes. They just appreciate your effort. Despite this small success, I still felt afraid. Every time I spoke, I worried about sounding foolish. My inner voice kept saying, "You're not good enough. You'll never speak fluently." These thoughts made it hard to enjoy the process of learning. I needed to find a way to silence my doubts and focus on progress. Alex suggested a new strategy, recording myself speaking. He said, "When you hear your own voice, you'll notice your strengths and weaknesses." I hesitated but decided to try. At first, I hated how I sounded, but over time, I saw small improvements. This gave me hope and motivated me to keep practicing. Chapter 3: Breaking the Wall. One day, I met a teacher named Sarah at the club. She specialized in helping students like me. Sarah said, "The key to speaking English is confidence, not perfection. Let's focus on simple conversations." She asked me questions like, "What's your favorite food?" and "What do you do on weekends?" At first, my answers were short and awkward, but Sarah's patience helped me relax. She taught me techniques to overcome my fear. One technique was shadowing, where I listened to a sentence and repeated it immediately. Another was storytelling. She asked me to describe my day in English, even if it was simple. These exercises felt challenging, but also rewarding. I started noticing small victories, like pronouncing words more clearly. Sarah also introduced me to the idea of thinking in English. She said, if you translate everything from your native language, it slows you down. Try to think directly in English. This advice changed everything. I began practicing by naming objects around me in English. Chair, table, window. It became a fun game. Slowly, my brain started to adapt. As weeks passed, I felt more comfortable speaking in front of others. I still made mistakes, but I learned to laugh at them. Sarah reminded me, mistakes are proof that you're learning. Don't let them stop you. Her encouragement gave me the strength to keep going. I realized that the wall blocking my speech was not real. It was just my fear. Chapter 4: A New Habit. Speaking English became part of my daily routine. Every morning I spent 10 minutes talking to myself in English. I described my plans for the day, my thoughts, and even my dreams. At first it felt strange, but it helped me build confidence. I also joined online language exchanges where I could practice with people from around the world. One of my favorite activities was singing English songs. Music made learning fun and improved my pronunciation. I chose songs with simple lyrics and sang along. Over time, I noticed that my speaking rhythm improved. I also started watching interviews and repeating phrases spoken by native speakers. Mimicking their tone and intonation helped me sound more natural. Another habit I developed was keeping a speaking journal. Every night, I recorded a short video of myself talking about my day. Watching these videos showed me how much I was improving. It also motivated me to keep practicing. Alex and Sarah often watched my videos and gave me feedback. Their support meant the world to me. As I practiced consistently, my confidence grew. I started speaking more during club meetings. I shared my opinions, asked questions, and even told jokes. People noticed my progress and congratulated me. It felt amazing to see how far I had come. Speaking English was no longer a nightmare. It was becoming a joy. Chapter 5: The Breakthrough. 1 year after joining the English-speaking club, I faced my biggest challenge. The club organized a storytelling event, and Sarah asked me to participate. At first, I said no. Standing in front of an audience seemed impossible. But Sarah and Alex encouraged me. They said, "This is your chance to show how much you've grown." I spent weeks preparing my story. It was about my journey of learning to speak English. I practiced every day, refining my words and delivery. On the day of the event, I felt nervous but also excited. When my turn came, I took a deep breath and walked to the stage. The audience smiled, waiting to hear my story. As I spoke, I felt a mix of fear and pride. My voice trembled at first, but I kept going. I shared my struggles, my progress, and the lessons I learned. To my surprise, the audience clapped and cheered. Their support gave me the courage to finish my story confidently. It was a moment I would never forget. After the event, many people came to congratulate me. They said, "Your story was inspiring. You've come so far." I realized that my journey was not just about learning English. It was about overcoming fear and believing in myself. Speaking English was no longer just a goal. It was a symbol of my growth. Now, I help others who face the same challenges. I tell them, if I can do it, so can you. Start small, stay consistent, and never give up. My journey taught me that the key to success is not being perfect, but being brave. And with every word I speak, I feel more confident and free. Chapter 6: Helping Others. After my breakthrough at the storytelling event, I began to see myself as someone who could inspire others. Many people at the club approached me to ask for advice. "How did you improve so much?" they asked. I shared my story and encouraged them to start small, just as I had. It felt amazing to know that my journey could help others. One of the members, Mia, struggled with the same fear I once had. She could understand English perfectly, but hesitated to speak. I told her, start by saying just one word or phrase. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mia followed my advice and began making small but steady progress. Seeing her confidence grow reminded me of my own journey. I also started volunteering as a mentor at the club. Every week, I worked with new members, helping them practice simple conversations. I taught them techniques like shadowing, storytelling, and thinking in English. Their enthusiasm motivated me to keep improving my own skills. Teaching others became a new way to challenge myself. Outside the club, I started using my English in real-life situations. I helped tourists in my city, ordered food at English-speaking restaurants, and even attended workshops in English. Each experience boosted my confidence. I realized that speaking English wasn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about connection. By helping others, I discovered a new passion. I wanted to continue sharing my knowledge and inspiring people to overcome their fears. It was no longer just about my journey. It was about creating a supportive community where everyone could grow together. Chapter 7: Facing Challenges. Although I had made significant progress, there were still moments of doubt. Sometimes I struggled to find the right words or pronounce them correctly. These small setbacks reminded me that learning a language is a lifelong process. But instead of feeling frustrated, I chose to see them as opportunities to learn. One day, I attended a public speaking workshop. The instructor asked us to give a short speech in English. My turn came, and I felt the familiar nervousness creeping in. But this time, I reminded myself of Sarah's words. Mistakes are proof that you're learning. I took a deep breath and started speaking. The audience listened attentively, and their supportive smiles eased my nerves. I stumbled a few times but kept going. At the end, the instructor said, "You have a natural way of connecting with people. Keep practicing, and you'll become a great speaker." Her words encouraged me to keep challenging myself. I also faced criticism from a few people who doubted my abilities. They said, "You'll never sound like a native speaker." At first, their words hurt, but then I realized that perfection wasn't my goal. I wanted to communicate, not to sound perfect. This mindset shift helped me stay focused on my progress. Challenges became a part of my journey, and I learned to embrace them. Every obstacle was an opportunity to grow, and every mistake was a step closer to fluency. With each challenge I overcame, I felt stronger and more determined to achieve my goals. Chapter 8, Building Confidence. One of the biggest lessons I learned was that confidence comes from action. The more I practiced, the more confident I became. I started setting small, achievable goals for myself. For example, I challenged myself to have a 5-minute conversation in English every day. These conversations weren't always easy, but they taught me to think on my feet. Sometimes I couldn't find the right word, so I used gestures or simpler phrases. Other times, I made mistakes but laughed them off. Each interaction reminded me that communication is about more than just words. I also joined a debate group where we discussed current events in English. At first, I was intimidated by the fast-paced discussions. But over time, I learned to express my opinions clearly and confidently. The group members were supportive, and they appreciated my unique perspective. My newfound confidence extended beyond English. I started taking more risks in other areas of my life, like trying new hobbies and meeting new people. English became a tool that opened doors to new experiences. It was no longer just a language. It was a bridge to the world. Every time I spoke English, I felt proud of how far I had come. The fear that once held me back was now a distant memory. Confidence, I realized, was not something you were born with. It's something you build one step at a time. Chapter 9, Discovering New Opportunities. As my English improved, new opportunities began to appear. One day, Sarah introduced me to a friend who worked at an international company. She said, "They're looking for someone who can help with translation and customer service. I think you'd be perfect for the job." At first, I hesitated. Could I handle working in an English-speaking environment? But Sarah reminded me of how much I had grown. She said, "This is your chance to take the next step." I applied for the job and was thrilled when they offered me the position. Working in an English-speaking environment was both exciting and challenging. I interacted with clients from different countries and learned to adapt to various accents and communication styles. My colleagues were supportive and helped me when I struggled. Every day was a new learning experience. The job also gave me the chance to travel. I attended conferences and workshops in other countries, where I met people from diverse backgrounds. Speaking English allowed me to connect with them and learn about their cultures. These experiences broadened my horizons and made me appreciate the power of language. Through my job, I discovered that English was not just a skill, but a tool for building connections and creating opportunities. It gave me the confidence to dream bigger and aim higher. I realized that my journey was just beginning, and there was so much more to explore. Chapter 10: The Journey Continues. Looking back on my journey, I feel proud of how far I've come. From being too scared to speak a single word to sharing my story with others, I've overcome challenges I never thought possible. But I also know that learning English is a lifelong journey. There is always more to learn and new goals to achieve. Now, I focus on helping others who face the same struggles I once did. I organize workshops, mentor new members at the club, and share tips on improving speaking skills. Seeing their progress reminds me of why I started this journey in the first place. I've also set new goals for myself. I want to learn other languages and explore different cultures. English has given me the confidence to believe in my abilities, and I'm excited to see where this journey will take me next. The most important lesson I've learned is that success comes from persistence. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up every day and doing your best. Mistakes are part of the process, and every step forward is a victory. As I continue my journey, I carry the lessons I've learned with me. English is not just a language. It's a key that unlocks new possibilities. And with every word I speak, I feel more connected to the world around me. Chapter 11: Stepping into Leadership. As my confidence grew, I began to take on leadership roles within the language club. I was no longer the quiet observer sitting in the back of the room. Instead, I became the one organizing events, mentoring new members, and even leading workshops. At first, the idea of standing in front of a group and speaking in English seemed intimidating, but I realized it was an opportunity to push myself further. The first workshop I led was about overcoming fear in speaking English. I shared my personal experiences, emphasizing how small, consistent efforts had made a huge difference. I encouraged participants to share their fears and guided them through practical exercises to build their confidence. Seeing them open up and take those first steps was incredibly rewarding. Through these experiences, I learned that leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to help others and share what you've learned. I realized that my struggles had prepared me to guide others, and every time I helped someone else, I felt my own skills improving. Leadership became a new way to challenge myself and stay motivated. The club members started looking up to me for advice and encouragement, which gave me a sense of responsibility. I wanted to set an example by continuing to improve my own skills. This inspired me to take on new challenges, like giving presentations at local community events and participating in international webinars. Each leadership opportunity reinforced the idea that English was more than just a language for me. It was a way to connect, inspire, and grow. By helping others find their voices, I was discovering the power of my own. Chapter 12. The Power of Storytelling. One day, during a club meeting, the topic of storytelling came up. Our instructor explained how stories have the power to connect people and make learning a language more engaging. Inspired, I decided to try storytelling as a way to improve my speaking skills further. I started writing short stories in English, based on my own experiences and imagination. At first, it was challenging to translate my thoughts into English. I spent hours looking up words, checking grammar, and refining my sentences. But the more I practiced, the more natural it became. I began sharing my stories during club meetings, and to my surprise, people loved them. They said my stories were relatable and inspiring, which motivated me to keep going. Storytelling became a powerful tool for me to practice not just speaking, but also thinking in English. As I told my stories, I noticed how my pronunciation improved, my vocabulary expanded, and my confidence soared. I also learned to use gestures, expressions, and tone to make my stories more engaging. It wasn't just about the words, it was about how I delivered them. The feedback I received from my audience was invaluable. They pointed out areas where I could improve and gave me new ideas to explore. I started experimenting with different genres, from humor to drama, and even wrote a motivational speech that I delivered at a public event. Each experience pushed me out of my comfort zone and brought me closer to fluency. Through storytelling, I discovered a new way to express myself and connect with others. It taught me that language is not just about rules and grammar. It's about creativity, emotion, and human connection. Chapter 13. Expanding my horizons. With my improved English skills, I started exploring opportunities beyond the club and my local community. One day, I came across an online platform where people from around the world could practice English together. I signed up and was immediately fascinated by the diversity of people and cultures I encountered. In my first session, I spoke with a student from Japan, a teacher from Brazil, and a traveler from Germany. It was incredible to hear their stories and share my own. These conversations not only improved my English, but also gave me a new appreciation for the power of language. It was a bridge that connected people from different parts of the world. I became a regular participant in these sessions, joining discussions on topics ranging from global issues to personal hobbies. The platform also offered opportunities to host group conversations, which I eagerly embraced. Leading these discussions challenged me to think quickly, articulate my ideas clearly, and manage different perspectives. As I engaged with people from various backgrounds, I noticed how much my worldview was expanding. I learned about traditions, values, and experiences that were completely new to me. At the same time, I shared my culture and perspectives, which helped others see the world through my eyes. These interactions reinforced my belief that English was not just a skill, but a tool for connection and growth. The more I used it to engage with others, the more confident and fulfilled I felt. It was clear that my journey was no longer just about learning a language. It was about discovering the world and my place in it. Chapter 14. Preparing for the next step. As my English skills reached a new level, I began to think about my future. I wanted to use what I had learned to achieve something meaningful. One of my dreams was to study abroad, where I could immerse myself in an English-speaking environment and gain new experiences. The thought of studying abroad was both exciting and daunting. It required a lot of preparation, from improving my academic writing to passing language proficiency exams. I dedicated myself to these goals, spending hours each day practicing essay writing, reading academic articles, and taking mock tests. It was challenging, but I knew it was worth the effort. I also sought guidance from people who had studied abroad. They shared their experiences, tips, and encouragement, which helped me stay motivated. I applied for scholarships and researched universities that aligned with my interests. The process was long and sometimes overwhelming, but I kept reminding myself of how far I had come. Finally, after months of hard work, I received an acceptance letter from a university abroad. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as I prepared to embark on this new chapter. I knew it would be a challenge, but I was ready to face it with the same determination that had brought me this far. This milestone was a testament to how much I had grown, not just as an English speaker, but as a person. It reminded me that with persistence and belief in myself, I could achieve anything I set my mind to. Chapter 15. A Lifelong Journey. As I boarded the plane to my new destination, I couldn't help but reflect on my journey. From struggling to speak a single word to leading workshops, mentoring others, and now studying abroad, I had come a long way. But I also knew that this was just the beginning. In my first week abroad, I faced new challenges like understanding different accents and adapting to a fast-paced environment. But instead of feeling intimidated, I embraced these challenges as opportunities to learn. Every conversation, lecture, and interaction was a chance to improve and grow. I also made friends from all over the world who became my support system and cultural guides. They helped me navigate this new chapter and encouraged me to keep pushing my limits. Together, we explored the city, shared our experiences, and supported each other in our academic and personal goals. Through these experiences, I realized that learning English was not just about speaking or writing. It was about building relationships, understanding different perspectives, and discovering new possibilities. It had opened doors I never thought possible and given me the confidence to pursue my dreams. As I continue this journey, I remain grateful for every challenge and triumph that has shaped me. I know that learning is a lifelong process, and I'm excited to see where it will take me next. English has become more than a language for me. It's a part of who I am and the life I want to create.